Still get that.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 193. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+. Also, questions asked on our page on Facebook titled Dumb SEO Questions, and also via Twitter, Dumb SEO QS. With us tonight, we have Arthur Radelescu. Arthur is proud to call himself an SEO. He operates from Bratislav in Romania. He works for, I think it's Daniels in New York. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net in the UK. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. Micah Fisher-Kirschner, you can find Masataki at wasaweb.net. And Micah Fisher-Kirschner is a regular on the public speaking circuit, or the SEO public speaking circuit. He is also Senior SEO Manager for Zendesk.com in the USA. That's Zendesk.com. And Tim Capper is a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. He's also CEO of OnlineOwnership.com. He hails from the capital of the UK, Corby. All right, let me click a couple of buttons here. Our first question tonight, we have 14 questions, one news item. We would have had 3 news items, but Mike had just sent them public. Niraj Kumar, who's asked a number of questions of us, has noticed a new change in Google mobile search engine results pages. By the way, in other news, Google is working on a separate mobile index. Do you guys notice that? Anyway,
Yeah.
Niraj said, today I made a search business website on Google without signing in on a Windows Nokia Lumia mobile. I found options to see the results in English as well as in Hindi on top of the page. Is it a new change in the Google mobile search engine results pages, or is it by Windows? Suraj Gadagay, one of our forum heroes who answers questions through the week in the lead up to our hangout here every Thursday night. Suraj said this is primarily happening because of language prioritization for enhanced user experience. Google is basically trying to parse the user's language. In your case, they are looking at all of your past history with search. Most of the time, this will be all they need. Browser settings, and also browser settings and geolocation to display the search results.
Yeah, and the thing is, Google does a lot of testing, so when it comes to kind of something new, you usually want to wait at least a month, and if you see it there for a month plus, maybe 2 months, then that's likely a new layout. But just happenstance running across something could just be a test. And if you're not hearing about it usually on any of the major SEO news sites, then there's a good likelihood it's either a test or it's just been under the radar. So it's just something Google does a lot of testing on to be aware of.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next. This one is from Mike Cook. It's titled Pages Crawled Per Day Bouncing Around a Lot. Mike said, I have a small question. I help look after a large site. We are seeing a lot of movement in Google Webmaster Tools or the Google Search Console on the pages crawled per day, bouncing around a lot. I can't find an obvious answer at the minute. Is anyone else getting this with their site at the moment?
No, I mean, I don't work on a large site at the moment, so in comparison, so I'm not seeing that.
I can have a look. Hey guys, I can
Hey.
have a look at one of my sites and I get back to this guy with an answer in like a few minutes, okay?
Oh, I do. It does remind me, I do have another site I could look at as well. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's bouncing around. So, yeah, I as well looked at another while Arthur checks on his end. Something to note, possibilities for what may be occurring. Just kind of consider if you can go into the log files, then outside of Search Console, and if you have a large site, that's almost something that you need to do. Just to see what are the pages that Google is crawling every day, to see if you can suss out what might be happening. So for example, what could be occurring, you might be giving, what can be a common thing is you might be giving a bit of waste for Google to crawl. So if you're sending new pages in an XML sitemap, let's start with this one, there might be a lot of pages that are new, Google's looking at them, and then turns out you're telling Google not to crawl them or not to index them and not to follow any of the links. And so certain days, certain days that might be occurring. It also might be even just, you're giving more links in a sitemap one day versus another. It could be that your search results are providing product pages. I'm assuming e-commerce as an example. So your search results might be linking to a lot of product pages parts of the day where there are pages that you've also told them not to crawl. And so there's a limited set for them that they crawl on certain days, and on other days there might be more. But that of course depends on how much your results fluctuate. So those are some quick things just to be mindful of for why there might be a fluctuation. It could also just be how fast your site is loading for the day. So do you see a correlation to, in that same stuff going back and forth, the time that's spent downloading a page? That could also give you a hint to what's going on. So see, I guess.
Yeah, because most times Googlebot is gentle in that if it notices the site speed being affected, it'll back off.
Yeah.
Most times, not always.
Yeah, it's not a perfect correlation, but it's a good kind of example of what's going on. All right, go ahead, Arthur.
I have a look on my page crawl per day statistics, and I don't see any big fluctuations. I've pasted in the chat a screencast which can be posted further on to this question.
Yeah. Yeah, in that case, I would recommend personally look in the site then and see what might be going on with their own site for that issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting crawled like 66,000 pages per day, stuff like this, 55, 66,000. So it's a normal traffic. Even I can say it's a little bit lower than the average. I mean, I've got 126K, so no, it's nothing out of the ordinary so far. Maybe yeah, as you said earlier, maybe he changed his XML sitemap files, or maybe he added a new um, section on the site.
126K, it sounds like a Tesla speed test.
Yeah.
Now we can.
I'm just looking at one of my larger sites. I had a big jump on the 7th of the 5th, but apart from that, over the last good few months, it's all been pretty stable. So yeah, I can't see anything that would.
Yeah, also so do I. The long the report goes back, like around 3 months, it's somewhat steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the end, take a look at your own site, get access to the crawl log so you can see what pages they're hitting hard on specific days, and that hopefully will give you a clue to what might be going on.
Okay, on your run list, guys, there's a means to add a link to the actual page on dumbseoquestions.com. I wonder if one of you could add Arthur's screenshot, so that'll be on the page if someone watches this at a later date. They can check that on the page at the middle right. All right, let's call that an answer. I noticed Suraj Gadagay said he manages a fairly large e-commerce site, but hasn't seen any fluctuations. All right, our next is it's a question from Andres Philippe Echevarria Haneo. And Andres said, I cannot see any backlinks on one page that I have. Yeah, so I had a look at this too. Anyway, Andre said, hey guys, anybody know why I cannot see any backlinks on one page that I have? I know there are some good domains that are linking to my site with follow links. When I check in Ahrefs, Majestic and Moz, there are no backlinks to falabella.com, falabella-cl/cyberday. As you can see from the pingdom test in the SEO questions community on Google+, that particular URL, Andres, is redirected. I had a look in SEMrush, and you do have backlinks pointing to your site, but of course none to that particular page.
Yeah, and the nice part is you can if you're the redirect will do it on its own. But even if it hadn't been redirected, what you can do with certain tools is tell them to crawl those backlinks. That if you know that you have them, you can oftentimes tell tools to then go and crawl those links so that they have it in their system, and so that way they can put it in. So it just might be they haven't gotten to them, and depending on when those backlinks occurred, it just might be to do.
Yep. All right. Anybody else? I see Tim Capper's gazing out the window. He's amazed to see sun in the UK.
No, mate, no sun today. It's been pissing down for 2 days now.
So what you're saying is it's a good day?
No, it was unusually heavy rain. Unusually heavy rain. It wasn't the steady, wet drizzle. This was like this was a tropical downpour seriousness level.
Well, given that Gus has joined the chat, you can ask him what's going on.
Yeah.
All right. I see Rob Mars has joined us. Rob is an AdWords aficionado from the Netherlands. You can find Rob at marketbiz.nl, marketbiz.nl. And let's move on to the next. Niraj Pandey asks for an ASO rank tracking tool. And Niraj, Suraj Gadagay offered try Tune.com, formerly known as Mobile Dev HQ. We have been using it for our clients, he said. Anything to add to this one, guys?
Does
Well, I used to use Rank Tracker from Link Assistant Tools, and it's working very good, especially right now when they've added location personalization. So if you want to track rankings for a certain city, you may safely do so. So it's worth a shot.
Oh, I'm actually surprised. So does SEMrush have anything around that? I don't actually use a lot of mobile or on the ASO side. I do know. Let's see. A lot of people will look at. I'm not sure if Mixpanel. It's a common tool I know a lot of use for analytics. If you're curious to see how your results are doing on the web, so based kind of like in the App Store, but then as often Google will show parts of that in the web. I know Search Metrics has a news.
Oh, I think we've lost Micah. He's frozen. No, he's back.
I'm back?
Yeah, you're back now, Micah.
Okay. So I know that if you're interested, so I don't know where I got lost. If you're interested in seeing how your results in ASO look on the mobile web, I know that Search Metrics has a new tracking system for that, but that's an enterprise level tool, so quite a bit more expensive than what you may be able to necessarily afford. I also know that often a lot of people are using Mixpanel, but I'm not sure if that's more like analytics. And so I'm more familiar with that. Some of the other areas to look at there.
Thank you, Micah. All right, let's move on to the next. All right, Dinesh Kumar asked a question on geo-targeting a website. He's only just loaded this site. He said, I've got a question geo-targeting a website. Currently my site is targeting India. Now I want to target Canada. How much time will it take to show effect on rankings?
Well, that depends. Does he has a .com website where he can change the country in Google Webmaster Tools, or does he does that with the help of hreflang parameter? Because it depends. So he must give us additional details at least.
Well, let's answer on the basis that he has a .com.
If he has a .com, he has to change the country in Google Webmaster Tools. So he can do that fairly easy. I will tell him exactly where he can do that in a second, because I've changed a little.
In the meantime, I just have a simple question.
Go.
What kind of content does he have that he can switch from targeting India to Canada?
Yeah, he needs content that's attractive for Canadians. He needs to be popular in Canada.
What British sports, basically, right? Yeah, but even then,
Write
it's
about
gonna
curling and lacrosse, and you'll be fine.
lacrosse, curling. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
can't just change the
Yeah, 'cause-
major theme or
Yeah.
attraction of your website.
Yeah. Plus, you're gonna need links from the host country. You need people to be talking about it in that location. Your server setups. It can take a bit of time if you're making that switch. So you're having to rebuild, and not fully from the start because you've got history and some value, but it also depends on what the market looks like in Canada. Are you going into a competitive market within the Canadian sphere where it might not have been as competitive or in a different way compared to where you were in India?
So if he has a generic top-level domain, like .com, .net, .org, and so on and so forth, he can go to Google Search Console in search traffic, international traffic, and then you have two tabs. One is language and the other one is country. You go to country, and then you can change the target users in which country you choose. This is only technical information. So what my friends have said before, it's very true, and it depends a lot on which content you have on the website and the links and so on and so forth. I'm only telling you the technical information specified in the question. So this is the first one you can do. The other one is you can use language targeting if you implement the hreflang parameter.
Yeah.
Specific languages. So to switch from I don't know which kind of language you had when you're targeting India to the English Canadian or French Canadian, depending on which language are you targeting in Canada. That's only technical, so this is only the first step.
Yeah, and I noticed Dinesh also asked a follow-up question there. He said he informed Edwin Yonk that he had not published much content. He'd just set up Webmaster Tools a few days ago. He said, let's say I start publishing content from today for a Canadian audience and change the geolocation to Canada. Now, how many days will it take to show effect? And I think we can sum up our answer to Dinesh that it's not measured in days. It's measured in weeks and months. Actually uses an integer called paint drawing. No, it doesn't. I've got David's book. Okay, let's move on. Dinesh, I hope you found that useful. All right, from Ryan Kramer, he has an unusual request. He wants to, it's titled, I need to drop placement for national search engine result pages without losing local placement. Any ideas? He goes on to say, a few months ago I started working at the local county elections office. During lunch I did some tweaks to the website and accidentally got top placement. I know what he means. It happens to me all the time. Our staff can barely handle the call volume from our county visitors. But with the presidential election, I need to figure out how to have the visitors focused only in our country. Only in our county, not the whole nation. Help.
That's a tough one. You can post, yeah, as Federico said, you can post a warning next to your phone number to warn the clients that this is only for your specific county. If you do that, you might have a chance that people might read that disclaimer. Try to place it above the phone number, maybe in red or in blue or whatever color yells in your current design. You might be able to trim some out. But from an SEO perspective, just change it in Google in just a few days. You might risk to lose it all. So I wouldn't change anything from an SEO perspective. I would put disclaimers all over the spots where you have the phone number listed in your website.
Yep. Thank you, Arthur. All right. Anybody else on this one? I don't know how to turn it off. No, you're quite right, Mr. Tagia. Arthur's sound volume is low. Not consistently, but it is fading out a little. Arthur, I would try adjusting the settings at the top and see if that will make a difference. Not the settings, it's adjust bandwidth usage, and see if that helps. You take it down to the minimum.
I try to get the headphones closer. Let me see.
That sounds perfect, by the way. Now.
Now it's okay.
Yeah. You sound like the voice of God.
Okay. So if it is too loud, just tell me. Okay.
Okay.
All
right. Let's move on to the next one. This one from Michael D. Ross. And it's titled, Do I Have to Build a Site for Each Business Location? With regards to local SEO and organic search results, if a brick and mortar business has 2 locations, would it be best to have 2 separate websites, one for each location, or just one website with both locations listed?
What I suggest related to brick and mortar, you can watch the latest Webmaster Tools Hangout with John Miller. He's talking about exactly.
Your sound's dropped out altogether, Arthur.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to do.
That's better.
No,
that's perfect.
Better?
Yeah.
I won't touch. So I suggest to Michael D. Ross to go and watch.
No, it's dropped off again.
Oh, it's okay?
No, not yet.
I don't know what to say. Let me close a few things.
I think Arthur wanted to point out that John Mueller did a brick and mortar Webmaster Central last Friday, explaining all the do's and don'ts. Aren't you, Arthur?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, so yes, I suggest him, among others,
as soon as you start saying something valuable, the sound drops.
Maybe I didn't suppose to give this information.
Go on
I
again.
think it's Googlebot doesn't want you to spread that, disseminate that information.
Well,
He's gone. All right. Well, hopefully Arthur will rejoin us shortly. Anybody else have some assistance for Michael Ross? How would you do that with the Google Plus business page? Would you have 2 Google Plus business pages or 1?
I think you could
Well,
have 2.
Yeah, you'll have 2 because they're 2 separate locations, right? So each would have Google My Business. I don't think they're referring to the thing as Google Plus anymore. It's Google My Business page.
Sorry.
I suppose you'd call them.
Sorry.
But Tim's back, so he can explain everything to us.
Well,
You have to turn your mic on, Tim. Yeah, you're on now.
Yeah, no, one site. So you've got 2 bricks and mortar businesses. I'm assuming they are related. If they're related, you have one site, and obviously you have 2 location pages. Each location page gets their own Google Business page. One site's easier to maintain. Obviously, any content you're going to be publishing will benefit the entire site and its entirety rather than one. However, obviously, if these 2 businesses are absolutely, one's a plumber and one's a locksmith, then you may want to just have 2 separate sites. But if they're both plumbers, well then it makes sense to have one site.
I'd say it's a law office with 2 physical locations.
Well, then it would just be one brand. You know, lawyers are us, and then it would be 2 location pages on the site. Lawyers are us in London, lawyers are us in Manchester.
Or Michael D. Ross in Manchester. No, he wouldn't be in Manchester. He's in the USA. Excellent. Thank you, Tim. Anybody else? Moving on to the next. Search result confusion, it's titled, from Vo Teng. Vo Teng said, I searched the keyword on Google with the syntax, the site operator, mydomain.com, plus a keyword and Google custom search on my website. Google replies same result, but the topic is change location. I'm not sure what's meant there. I want to question which is the result exactly for ranking a web page to Google with this keyword. Thank you very much. Am I missing something? William Rock has joined us from, is it Arkansas?
Kansas. You're
Kansas.
close.
I knew it had K's and A's. I just didn't pick the right one. Okay, Kansas in the USA, proud to call himself an SEO. William Rock might know the answer for Vo Teng.
Oh, I'm going to actually go back, and I was actually still listening to the old question, so I haven't heard the new one, so I'll let everybody else answer first.
Okay.
There isn't a one ranking. Rankings are personalized, and he can see those with the most accuracy in his search console in Webmaster Tools, as far as I understand the question.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that he's using custom search. I suppose that could have some effect. I'm not 100% sure. And I'm just struggling to understand Google reply this, Google sends back the same results, but the topic is change location. I'm struggling to understand that sentence. I think that's the key in a sense.
Well, I think he assumes that with site mydomain.com he gets an idea of ranking, and that's not the case. It's just an idea of indexing. And
yeah, that's true with site colon search. But I suppose the interesting bit is he's adding a keyword to that. Because that just, in that case, are the results random? Well, random might be the wrong word, but if you use site colon search, the results aren't necessarily in importance.
Yeah.
But if you add a keyword to that, what happens? So that's the interesting bit, I suppose.
Yeah, I might add to that a little bit. I think he's looking for where he's ranked as an average position, and he can simply go through his Search Console to look at the real data of okay, what's my CTR of impressions versus click-through ratios, and then double verify, make sure that they're actually landing on your page. They're not just leaving and going back to the search engine. They're actually going and spending some time looking at reading your content. But I think that you're right, guys. I think he's looking maybe too hard into the keyword, plus keyword for custom searches. You can actually do the same thing in the incognito mode and look at the results so you're not logged in and kind of see, okay, yeah, Webmaster Tool shows me at average position 6 or average position 1. Curious question, though.
All right, Boateng, I hope that's enough for you. If it isn't, feel free to ask another question on the SEO Questions community on Google+, or on our Facebook page, Dumb SEO Questions, or on Twitter at Dumb SEO QS. All right, let's move on to the next, and this one from Kawenjar D, asking a question titled, "Why not load all images in CSS sprites?" Since speed is an important SEO factor, I do not care if people can find my images. I care about being ranked high for keywords with buy intentions. I have H1, H2, H3, and one optimized image. The other images I load in CSS sprites to increase or decrease loading time. Do you guys think that image optimizations actually helps rank content in web search engine result pages, or that it's more intended for image search engine results? Does speed have more influence on a high search engine results page ranking or image optimization?
Ooh, there's a lot of fun stuff with this one.
Well, I think you've got two things there. If you properly optimize images, you can display those images properly without affecting your page speed. The second thing is that I think you're making quite a bit of a fundamental assumption that images are going to be only for image search. Depending on how competitive or how popular those particular shopping those buy queries are, 90% of popular buy queries now provide a set of related images anyway. So if you look at the bigger picture here, if you're one or two, then you've got a set of images, that you're appearing in. You're potentially taking up, 2 spots, than just having one organic position. You're also potentially losing out to the sites that have actually optimized the images and are appearing within the related image for that buyer query. So I think you're missing a serious trick there if you're actually not concerned with images in that sense. Also, if you think about how how people are searching these days, people have got so used to a search result that anything where you can actually create a visual impression is far more likely to be hit on. The thing is, just to give you an indication, Google is actually looking at ways now of monetizing images. Traffic in images, they would not be looking at monetizing it. So those related visuals, those related images, wouldn't be in the search results if they weren't getting a serious amount of traffic, or quality click-throughs and actual people finding that the image to the result actually was actually beneficial to them. So I would seriously rethink that an image is only for image search.
Absolutely, and to add to that, probably looking at the mobile side of that, I posted over on the right column, Jennifer Slegg had talked about, the page speed being a factor in the next mobile-friendly update. So also, thinking of the mobile clicker, the query that's going to actually find you on what device through voice. A lot of people are actually just, picking up their phone or using their smartwatch and basically asking Google a question. And then even more with the new device coming up, how do you optimize for search on that aspect of people's questions and answers with Google Home?
Yeah. I think Cohen JD is overthinking it. I mean, sprites are fantastic for fixed images which never change throughout the life of a site, tiny images, and where you don't want to download 10 of them. For page speed, sprites are an absolute winner, but ongoing maintenance of the site, it would just be a nightmare to be adding in new images to your sprite. William Rock said that it hadn't really worked with it. It's simply a matter of putting all of your images together and working out their location. That there's tools to do it with. But it's just a pain to do it. But yeah, very good if you've got lots of repetitive tiny images to put up, so that the sprite only loads once, and using the sprite you can load lots of images. Let's move on for this one. I hope that's an answer for you, Karen Jadid. John Pitcher cannot now redirect to a new site. He said, we have just made live a redesign of a site that had been built in Wix. Their pages were hashbangs, like mydomain.com/hashbang/XYZ. Not real pages, but virtual JavaScript created bookmarks. When we came to redirect, we found that we cannot now redirect the old hashbangs to any new page, as these are seen as virtual pages or bookmarks, and redirects will not work to any new page. In addition, there are about 50-odd Wix page fragments of near duplicate content in Google's index, all now pointing at the home page of the new site, but with the hashbang string. Is there anything that can be done? One, to delete the old page fragments from Google/Bing's indexes so that the site is not hit with duplicate content issues. Webmaster Tools will not let us delete page fragments. If nothing's gone, will Google gradually de-index these page fragments? Or is there any other way of informing Google to delete them? I've put rel canonical on the home page. Two, to redirect any old pages so that any link juice is maintained. There is not much, as the owner had not done any real link building, but it would help for the keywords not to be treated as new keywords. I see our very own Edwin Yonk said, first of all, he backed up Dave Elliott, and I'll read Dave Elliott's answer out. But Edwin said what Dave Elliott said, for the redirects, you should be able to use the query string escaped fragment. Dave Elliott said, one of my friends managed to do this. I can't find his post though. If memory serves, we used a redirect rule that used escaped fragment rather than the hashbang, and for some reason that worked. I think the moral of the story is don't use Wix.
Well, I think we got that message already.
Well, and see, that's why I've got a animal shelter that's on Wix, and I'm just trying that out right now just to be able to play around with the fact of just what this gentleman's talked about in his question, making the capability like you would normally have on the Joomla or WordPress site or Drupal site. You know, when you go over to Wix, there's a lot of control. Same goes with Shopify or other CMSs that are built-in shopping cart opportunities. But curious, I want to go back into the question later to actually look at more of the study opportunity for myself. Sorry, but I think, you know, yeah, don't use Wix is one of the biggest things, right? But can we actually find a solution that Wix does actually do good on ranking based off of site structure, as well as the content variation, image loads, to page speed capabilities, all the different qualities that we look for in any website, depending on, just without the Wix name, it's the platform. And yeah, I'd be curious to figure out the answer to this one too. I don't know.
Okay, anybody else? Let's hope Dave Elliott can find on that post. All right, let's move on to the next. This one is from Edisham Sheikh, not able to generate a sitemap.xml. What could be the possible reason? Do I need to add a separate code? P.S. I tried adding my site to an XML sitemap generator tool. Thanks in advance.
Do you think you might have too many links with generators? Sometimes they cap them at like 500 URLs, and I don't know if you mentioned that in this question, but yeah, there's a lot of different sitemap generators that you can pull from. One being the one I like to use, and that is going to be the xml-sitemap.com. Pretty easy, it's free, but it's then capped at 500 pages until you actually have to pay for it. So I don't know if that might be where he's having problems, because then he can just upload the actual sitemap.xml straight to his FTP or wherever he's hosting, and then point Google Search Console right back to that sitemap, and it should crawl fine. Or it'll actually error out.
One thing I'd probably personally try and sort out is to create a dynamic sitemap. By you, I mean, do you add any content to the site? Does the content change at all? The point being here is if you're having to generate a sitemap and then tomorrow you're adding a new bit of news or you're adding a new page, you have to add that to the sitemap. I mean, I don't know, does your site not change at all? Ordinarily in this day and age, most sites have, you know, at least 1 or 2 pieces of content going onto it in a month. I would certainly try and look at actually creating a dynamic sitemap. Purely because, I mean, look, if your site's never going to change, fine. You know, that you know, generating a sitemap is cool. But most sites have something going on to them once or twice a month, which means you're going to have to generate, or add to rather, once or twice a month. Bit of a pain in the brain.
You don't need actually a sitemap if your navigation is okay.
Yeah, sure.
It's only a pointer for Google if they can't find your pages. If your navigation is okay, it will follow.
And if you get your sitemap wrong, it can also.
Are you talking XML or HTML that you don't need here?
I would say XML. Sometimes you don't need it. It's basically Googlebot's finding it regardless based off the smartness it's got, I think.
Yeah, if you're working with a larger site, you need an XML sitemap.
Well, yes.
Yeah. If you've got a pretty small site, 500 pages, let's say, okay, fine, you don't need an XML sitemap. But I mean, the XML sitemaps are definitely useful for prioritization. In terms of pages they crawl, XML sitemaps are first priority. It's also quite useful from a tracking standpoint. You can set that up, and so if there are issues that come up, you can actually set up your XML sitemaps to see what pages they've decided to index versus not.
Good point.
So there's actual good cases for having it. But at smaller scale, yeah, it's not
Tim was alluding to, though, I mean, you would be able to have to manually add that to your sitemap every month, and that's something. I generate a new sitemap for some of the small clients each month because our content writers are actually putting together ideas, and even my executives are writing articles now, so which is fantastic, and they're uploading it. But those, without me knowing, I'm not going to be able to put those in my sitemap. But at the same time, as my team works together and says, "Hey, William, I got 3 new articles we just posted. Change the sitemap," and so it's refresh. But I just do a crawler and have it crawl, and then what those errors, because you'll see half of the ones was like, "Oh, I couldn't crawl this page." Well, why not? Or they picked up a whole bunch of things you don't want in the sitemap. You might not want to actually. You still want to go through and clean up your sitemap if you're using a generator tool, because it's just going to find everything it's found, anything it's available to see. Just like Googlebot would do as well. So if there's pages that you want not indexed, you're going to probably find them in the sitemap generator, and/or. Good point, though, Mike.
Okay, if Edisham Sheikh is looking for a generator tool, and because he has a large number of pages, can't use any of the other tools, there are other alternatives. Like Federico Sasso has that Visual SEO Studio. Now, it's a great tool, but it also has a crawler on it, which will generate an XML sitemap for you for a large number of sites. And there's also IIS, Microsoft's search engine optimization toolset, which you can load on your laptop. Doesn't need to be on a server, and that will also generate a sitemap for you. And tools like Screaming, I think Screaming Frog has a page limitation, doesn't it, for free? Yeah. All right, that's, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I think it's a page limitation on the free version, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was wondering, is it all about the size of the site that is blocking him from getting a sitemap, or is there something else? That's not clear to me. He's not able to generate a sitemap. It could also be that something is blocking it.
Yeah, and you'll normally see that when you actually use a generator, they're normally going to have an error message. And so if they might not have read the error message, and sometimes it's kind of tucked away in the notes on certain generators, but as far as what it failed. But I like to look at that as opportunity to go, hey, this page shouldn't even be there. It's 404ing. Or some of the generators actually show duplicate title tags. Well, sometimes that's important too. And little things that you can catch in your sitemap when it's being generated. But why is it erroring out, like you said? Good point.
Used it, still not working, could not find what could be the problem. That's his last remark.
Well, I just did a site operator check of his site, and that's showing 13,000 pages in the index. So it probably is hitting the limit in all of the free generators.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, then he can split it up.
Well, when the tool crawls, it just basically crawls everything it finds. And so basically, if it keeps going, it's like SEMrush. When you do a site audit, you have the opportunity to do like custom or certain amount, but it's going to find as many things as it can find through the opportunity, the robots.txt, and it might be actually blocking certain bots in the robots.txt that's also flagging. But I would believe it's probably just a number thing based off of what Jim was just mentioning with 13,000 links or URLs.
It was a great point made by, I think, by Rob, that if your navigation is working, you don't even need a sitemap. That's a very good point. I wish I had $1 for every hour I've wasted on sitemaps. Micah, we're losing you. Heading off to Silicon Valley.
Working from home today, so I gotta start to get cracking on the other stuff.
They let you work from home.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Oh, cool. Okay, mate. Safe. I don't need to say safe journey, do I?
Yeah.
See you next week.
Yes.
Okay.
Ciao.
Let's move on. Hey, did you hear that, Masataki? A Russian pretending to be an Italian.
Beep, 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 bastard, beep.
He's sending message. Moscow.
That's the influence of mafia in Russia.
Got to get back under control. Chase Rayner said, or asked a question titled, "Why does Google Search Console ask to add both www and non-www versions of the site when adding to Google Search Console or Google Webmaster Tools as we know it?"
good question. I actually turn off. I verify the one that's current. So basically, it's HTTPS or non-HTTPS, www or non-www. Whatever's the active current URL that I'm finding in the search results is what I'm going to actually have on my Search Console. And then that's the one I'm going to pay attention to, because most of my results from my query data, my page impressions, and all that stuff are going to come through that master, whatever that master URL you're currently using with your htaccess file. I mean, if you're forcing the www or you're not forcing the www. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. It's also useful, though, to pick up canonicalization issues, like if the non-dub version of the site is starting to rank pages, you can then investigate and find out why.
Yeah. Doesn't that normally force, like, even if it was like the www or non-www, the htaccess file, the 301 redirect to that, doesn't that normally fix the canonical piece? But
yeah, I'm just saying that it might not always work. You know, you might have a configuration that is broken, and that would alert you to it.
Good point. I had never thought of that.
All right, that's fairly basic. I'm sorry, Chase wasn't able to get out of bed this morning, but Chase, we're thinking of you. Let's move on to the next. Gee, the site's running slow tonight. Here's one that it's happening so often these days, and it's so profitable for sites to hack other sites. So profitable to get in, and the way that they're getting in mostly is via weak passwords. We host a large number of WordPress sites, and most of the traffic I see in the logs is people trying from, like in a distributed brute force attack, they're just trying wp-login.php time and time again, a couple of times a second. And eventually they'll jag a password, they'll get in and put a couple of extra backdoors in, and add redirects that only Google can see, so that the owner is completely unaware of the hack. But sites start appearing in the Google index, and then they'll point a whole lot of spammy links to that site. They don't care that the site will eventually be penalised. They just want to beef up those pages that they've installed on the victim's site. You know, I mean, I think it's wrong. The pharmacy sites which condone this sort of behaviour ought to be locked up. I think they should lock them up at the source, and that would get rid of these mongrels that hack other people's websites. Anyway, yes, that's true. William said in the comments that also plugins, a weak plugin. Generally, if you get a plugin that it's free, it's sometimes has a weakness or a deliberate engineering ability. That's what they build them for, so that people get suckered into using them, and they give hackers a way straight into the site. William uses security for them. They are good, but I think they're expensive since they changed their pricing. They're now charging $200 a year.
They are
I
expensive.
mean,
Yeah, I would agree. But at the same time, as I've been dealing with this from way back in October, and Tim can verify with this one. My first blush at somebody injecting the website on Joomla, and basically I was ranked within a couple weeks. I was ranked for everything in the sun, from NASCAR racing to pharma to all sorts of different variations. And it was kind of embarrassing going through a webmaster search console and seeing that it was picking up this, and Google, the spam algorithm was not picking it up. Now it's taking really good care of that. But yeah, 3 sites, I think, for me in the last few months that were constantly being brute forced. Even though you've got, like, for Joomla, RS Firewall, you've got, there's all sorts of other tools you can do for that one. But once I actually put security in, it unhacked all those sites, and it's consistently looking at the dashboard itself. Tells me exactly my DDoS attacks, my opportunity for injections, and everything else, but it's blocked at the firewall because I've had to change my DNS. So it's going through their firewall first, and then going to my website, which is fine because the speed's still there. But and I've taken everybody that's been getting hacked like that are all on HTTPS. So going back to the old Search Console thing and changing that up is kind of a interesting twist, because everybody thinks you're going to lose a lot of traffic. Well, we were losing traffic from the hacks versus it's a matter of where do we go next. And my clients have been extremely happy. It is expensive, like you said, Jim. I think they're paying was $299 a year. But that's also including their SSL too. So hit or miss. I mean, basically, I've used so many other tools in the past, and so far, none of them have ever fixed my clients' problems and brought them back to normal rankings. So they're pretty happy, and they're willing to pay the price.
So
yes,
guys, can you hear me?
Sorry, I'm a chatterbox today. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
we're up to question 13 on your own list there, Arthur. And you sound as clear as a bell now. Yes, I think security. What they do is technically adept. That's true, but it's not rocket science. Once they learn those skills, any low-level tech can implement them, and they probably script most of them anyway. So for what they're charging, I think it's price gouging.
Well, here's my take on that one, Jim. I think it is pricey, but if you look at all the research documents that come out on malware injections, hacks that are basically WordPress primarily, or even Joomla or Drupal, they're pretty much on that new hack or malware, or even like the new, what is it called, ransomware. Now, basically, when you go to a website now, that's that injected cookie or that JavaScript that they're injecting into your actual website. It's redirecting all your traffic to their system, which goes through multiple chains, so different hops in the redirect. And eventually, as they're rotating that JavaScript, that visitor experience is going to get that malware, and it's going to get. So if you've got a pretty popular website that has a lot of traffic, it's a search bot. So it's not a person actually hitting your site per se. It's just looking for the plugin or the old outdated version of the Drupal or WordPress or So it's just going to increase. It's basically almost like if you haven't been hacked, it's just a matter of when and how can you protect it, because it's more of a mess to clean up afterwards.
Well, to prevent being hacked, you just must Make sure that all of your plugins are continually up to date. Make sure that the suppliers of your plugins are reputable, even to the extent of paying for plugins, perish the thought. And also keeping your WordPress up to date and going on the web and using a random password generator to create a ridiculous password, maybe 30, 35 characters long, something so long that you couldn't possibly type it out. You know, what that's the regimen I'm following anyway, and unfortunately I have to keep my passwords in a text file on my desktop, which is probably a bit slack. Anyway, I shouldn't have said that. I have to move now.
Recorded that live. I know. Just messing with you. No, good points though. I mean, it's really going back to that whole, what are you doing with your passwords? What are you doing? I mean, is it the same password you use across all your logins, or do you randomize it once in a while? I mean, yeah, good points. I don't have anything else to add to that.
Well, apparently, Michael, actually, this is using Michael D. Ross's profile, but it's Michael's wife, Susan, who is making these posts. And apparently Susan is organising a hookup with Securi, and at least we know that will fix this particular issue, even if they are too damned expensive.
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out from her, how that worked out for her once she's actually deployed it. Because for me, having that dashboard, and then in my monthly meetings, I'm showing on a GoToMeeting screen. The client gets to see all those DDoS attacks, all those different attacks that Securi is blocking. And if it didn't block, it's going to figure out through the filter. Especially when they're working with so many sites out there, they have the opportunity to be able to scan all that data, and then just like big data, they can just pull all the information and go, okay, how do we fix everybody at once, type stuff. Where I think a lot of the smaller security companies are just kind of lacking. But I've been pitching security for all my people since at least was it 2013, 14. Not really a new thing for me in security.
Okay, moving on to the next. This was a great answer from Federico Sasso. This one's titled Error in Search Console, and it was asked by Prashant Kumar. Help me, Prashant said. Why is this error coming? I think that the code looks good. He's referring to his robots text file.
It starts with a star, which is not recognized, or a plus. I don't see exactly the character. That's where the error starts. So if he removed that character, first character, before user agent word, then all should be fine.
Is that a star, or is that Google highlighting the byte watermark, the bomb at the start of the file?
No, it's something before the U, the letter U. You see?
Yeah.
That's the error.
I thought that was a dot, which was just signifying Googlebot reading the byte watermark.
No.
Hard to tell. I mean, I just zoomed in on it a little bit further, but it still looks like a star as a star.
Okay.
By user. I think you're right on target there, Arthur.
Yep. It's the only thing I find out of the place. If he remove that first character, either it's a star or a plus, or I don't know what it is, then he should be fine.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a test for sure.
Okay. We'll just tweet that. And when I click this button, I think we'll find, yep, we've done it again, guys. We've answered all of the questions asked on the SEO questions community on Google+. Now we move on to our weekly SEO news roundup. And we have one article, William Rush. I think this was a post that you made.
Yeah, they did a fantastic job on that tutorial. I am very impressed with that landing page. Well, you know, it makes sense. I mean, it's getting your learn on, and that's kind of what I was mentioning in the post. I think, you know, I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out the tutorials, but they've got the text tutorials, the drop-downs for how to use the tool, the dashboard, but then they even go further with video. Sorry, I've got somebody coming outside here. But they go further with video tutorials, and that's something that they haven't really, I mean, they've done great tutorials in the past, but these ones, simple for anybody to use. So.
Do you have a link to them? As I might skip this once. Or is just the classic tutorials from the account when you log in into this SEMrush?
Actually, you know what it is they actually sent out a email newsletter, and I was reading through that and like, oh, tutorials, I want to see that, because we're always trying to teach SEMrush and make it simple for our clients to understand why they use the tool and how to take advantage of the tool. But with what they've done, you know, because they've changed so many things, especially in the last year. The interface has changed. You can you can change the Docker so you have more room to work with. A lot of different aspects to that. So yeah, I think it's basically a landing page like you would see like for paid advertising, right? So you go and use like Unbounce, and you have a page for that. But that's what we've been linking to. And again, I'll find that and I'll share that with you guys. And I think Jim, you probably have that on that slide though, don't you? In that post with the shortened URL. Let me find it because again, I think they've been coming out with some really sweet stuff on SEMrush, especially some of their brand monitoring and you know, the backlink audit is getting so much nicer. It's taken a while, but I think I started working with them in beta in December on that one.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've already went over it and gave them some feedback.
Yeah, it needs it needs a lot of work still, but thank you for giving the feedback, because that's something that it goes right back to the team, and they're going to be building that out for us. So the toxic link report for me, it's still kind of weird because some of them are too false positive, but they also have the criteria when you click into it on the link that really start to make sense. It's like, oh, now I understand that hit three thresholds of maybe this is a link network, or this is a so it's not really toxic link is basically, I think, an overused word, but something to check out and flag, and then utilize, not to disavow, because I think a lot of people think, oh yeah, I'm going to disavow all these links that are toxic. Well, they still have to go through the hard work and clean it up. It's like kind of like space junk, It's up there. How do we clean it up? Same thing on the internet. These links were built way back in the past, before all the other marketers have taken their place, and they still have all these things that are still like haunting their websites. But they still need to be cleaned up, not disavowed, in my opinion. Sorry. See where you started, Jim? You brought up my post. I tell you.
Yeah, that's all right.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it really makes a better index, and I think my thing is on. If you look at my profile, it says Panda plus Penguin equals a great result, and it has been shown over the years that it's been like a pain in the butt for webmasters. But long story. All right, I'm shutting up now.
I should point out that SEMrush look after our panelists here on Damasio Questions and provide each of us with a copy of their Guru subscription, and for that we're very grateful. Tim, have you got a good story about SEMrush to share with us?
No, not at the minute.
All right. Well, here I'll promote them with the pin. Just kidding.
I've write you a message on the chat, William.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And I'm actually working on, in the other screen over here, I'm working on finding that URL for you,
No
too.
problem.
I find them incredibly useful when a client, if a prospective client calls, and I usually try to run the ranking test and the site audit before I actually speak with them on the phone, because at least it gives me a clue. I mean, SEMrush makes me sound clever. I suppose, Tim, you wouldn't be in a situation where you could be any cleverer. But SEMrush helped you. How do you use it?
Well, you just read my blog. I've done articles on how small businesses can use it for keyword research, phrase research. There's tons you can do. The new brand monitoring tool, I did an article on that. They call it brand monitoring. I like to use it for, online marketing opportunities. There's tons of stuff they're bringing out. Yeah.
That's the fun part, Tim, is like, what didn't they bring? I mean, it's an all-in-one that's really cool and really quick data.
Yeah. I mean, they do need to fine-tune bits. I think they've got 4 things in beta at the minute, don't they? So there are bits that they need to fine-tune, but the whole point of testing them is to give feedback, and they're pretty good at listening to the feedback. Obviously, if your feedback is relevant to them, they're pretty good at implementing ideas.
Yeah. Well, even just the link tool just came out of alpha, and that's it was actually expected to come out of alpha in January, but there was a lot of things that I found problems with that wasn't ready either, and so they fixed those. I mean, you look at Ivan, he just did the hangout with me, was it not too long ago, on the link tool, and basically he showed me things I'm like, okay, I use Majestic and I use all these other tools, but the way he thought about project building this or managing it and organizing the content in a way that's simplified in a bigger space than just my advanced, utilizing just the advanced SEO, but how do we use this across the board for people that are not that advanced webmaster, but they're just looking for some advice and having that tool be able to be that resource in some regard, right? It's not like an end-all be-all. You've got to take it with a grain of salt. It's not, oh yeah, these are all toxic links. No, maybe they're not. And how do I want to just quickly disavow? No. Maybe I need to actually work on communicating out to the other webmaster and get that link removed first before I stuck it in the disavow. And then I have the content, the breakdown in my spreadsheet that says I contacted this email, I sent this email, I called it at this time, and those notes are now in the disavow file, so Google bot can see that you're doing something right, or at least trying to get rid of them. Versus no, they're just I didn't do that type of stuff. Okay, shutting up again.
Okay, any other comments on SEMrush? It's I'm surprised at you guys. It's like extracting teeth.
So Jim, you use SEMrush. What is your favorite part of the tool? What do you use it for? I mean, you guys know me. I'm doing site audits all the time with it, and I think you pointed it out in the beginning. You when a new customer called, you kind of go through the tool and check them out first before you even make the call to call them back and say, oh, you're worth my time to deal with. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but me.
Well, I'm fat and lazy, William. So for me, my most useful part is the rank tracking tool. I schedule it once a week. It comes to me. It goes to my client. And it tells us both how we're going. It gives the client. I mean, it requires zero effort for me to send that report out once a week.
A PDF.
I can brand it, and it makes me look clever, which is a pretty difficult thing to do.
Now let me ask you this: do you actually put your competitors' ranking next to it too, so that it has the comparative?
I do. Yeah.
Okay. I found that very useful for my clients as well. They're like, "Wow, I'm always," because they're always talking about their competition, but then all of a sudden when they see the numbers of where they're ranked compared to their competition, they're like, "Wow, I guess we are doing pretty good."
Yeah.
But again, it's just a number, and you can't sit there and go, hey, I was number one, and I type it in, and, well, not number one. It's average position, going back to Google Search Console, right? So, grain of salt.
Okay. Any other teeth I can extract before we click that button?
I agree with William. I'm using a lot I used to use a lot the audit tool, because it gives you a fair image of a website at a glimpse. You just take a look and see if there is something really wrong with the website, or it needs just fine-tuning and stuff like that. So I do enjoy that tool a lot.
Yeah.
And perfect point too. I mean, I was getting ready to type it in there, but I use the audit tool, but I also love the overview report. Okay, so you can just type in any domain, and you'll figure out what their problem was. Like I did one as a Google local guide. I was like, oh wow, I just noticed he invited me to have a hamburger with him at his place because I took a picture of his facility and put it up on Maps, and he's like, wow. And anyhow, long story short, the big franchise is actually dropped dramatically back in 2015, about January, February, March. That whole thing where there was an unnamed algorithm, and it's kind of weird. They've never rebounded from it. But I was showing him the graph on the over report, and he was like, "Wow, this is stuff I can work with, and we can actually rebound from this." Well, once you figure out, going back to Arthur, it's like the site audit, simple things that you can fix. Right? You might have a whole bunch of broken pages or duplicate content within inside of it. Maybe that means that your canonical tag isn't working, or many other aspects of the content management system is kind of malfunctioning. And
yes, like the 500 error pages, which you're not gonna see in an easy browsing on the website, because there are pages which maybe are no more linked in the website, or maybe some part of the website is broken and you can't spot them immediately. But this is a real help. We can spot the big problems immediately.
Absolutely.
Well, at least most of them.
Actually, speaking of spotting big problems immediately, I can give you a real-world example. A week or two ago, one of our sites, it's about a 12,000 product, 2,000 page site. and we introduced an error in the navigation. Only 10 pages were 404ing, but because it was in the navigation, all of a sudden we had 60,000 404s as fast as Google could crawl them. But that showed up, because we're looking at those reports all the time. That showed up, and we're able to nip that in the bud before it did any damage, because it can do damage. Googlebot doesn't mind the odd 404, but when you suddenly produce 60,000 of them, it can give them a cause to wonder what's going on.
And you'll get that message in Search Console too, that you're, an abnormal or increase in 404s as noted, and they have that flag in your message box, and they'll show you in the graph under your crawl stats. So that's another thing that I look at is the Search Console being that other secondary verification from what SEMrush is finding to, it's like, okay, I got all these things, how do I fix it? And then, like you said, navigation, that's a tough one to find but you can go back to some of your annotations in your analytics and go, I changed this, at this time too. So.
Yeah, that's a telling point, because I used to religiously live on Google Webmaster Tools, but since there've been Google Search Console, not so much. I hardly ever visit. My go-to site is SEMrush.
Gotcha. So here's the thing that I want you to try out is because basically a lot of people are like, okay, I just see all the queries. I like to go to my pages and then go into my queries. So it's a kind of opposite. But at the same time as I'm looking at my pages by top 10 results, but at the same time I'm looking for any pages that are abnormal. And that's normally where I'll find a hack too. It's like, oh wow, I'm showing up for / Reeboks shoes. Well, that's not really what I should be showing up for. Where did that page come from? And then I found injected pages from there. But I'm always looking at that page view versus just the query. Everybody pays attention to the keyword query, but look at your pages and then click on the actual master, and then it opens up, a new tab. You go to your queries. So now you show your queries in that report for just that page. And I think that's even more useful, especially if you're targeting a theme with your content. You're like, wow, this page is actually showing up for this variation in additional organic search keyword or queries that I never thought of. It's not in my database of, or spreadsheet of queries that I was actually targeting. But click-through is high or conversion's good when you go into your analytics. Anyhow, deferring. But yeah, there's some cool things you can do in Search Console now that you couldn't do in Webmaster Tools. But there's a couple of reports I'm missing in the old one that I loved. Looking at your compared data, you still can do that, but it just looks goofy.
Speaking of SEMrush, I'm using also the backlinks report.
Yes.
I do tend to look at the backlinks right at the beginning to see if I spot something unusual, and I like to take this backlinks report and add some more from other tools, to get a complete list as much as possible. I drag also the Search Console backlinks from there and so on and so forth. I can gather 5 or 6 good tools together, and you can pretty much have an idea.
Well, and that's the cool thing about the new link audit tool from SEMrush, because you can then connect your Search Console to that, and basically it's a couple different verification pieces. It's like not very super easy, but it's just looking at certain numbers to verify, like for example, what was your, well, I forget the question, but when you start looking at that, you made a good point, because I use like Majestic SEO and a couple other tools, and then I bring that. So now with the link audit tool, you can also import that spreadsheet. So now you're adding to the list, and it's going to go through and look for toxic signals on that new list that you just added, which is sweet. As well as the from your Search Console, it pulls that in there, and so it's like you've got spreadsheet over here like we normally do, where it's like, okay, here I'm working from this. This looks toxic, and I've got little marker tabs that say, okay, double check on this, or what is my note? Did I actually have to send out an email and try to get rid of it, and then what date? But now that's what we're trying to build inside the link audit tool. So
yeah, one thing I've sent them feedback about, it's the possibility to add the possibility of downloading that final spreadsheet, because that the link audit doesn't have right now the possibility to download. And if you want to put it on to create a file and export it to the Google console to disavow those links, you can't do that now.
Not yet. Ivan's already promised. He's the project manager of SEMrush, and he's already promised that in our last hangout. So we did actual webinar about this with Ivan, the project manager of that team. And he basically says there's a lot of things coming on the list, especially from people like us. We're actually constantly giving him feedback. But that was one of the feedback things I wanted too. I'm like, okay, I want that downloadable spreadsheet based off when I imported from my Search Console and imported from SEMrush and pulled from your database. What do I totally have in a spreadsheet, easy to read format, or there's going to be also dashboards that are going to be coming to have a little bit more fluctuation, prettiness, and easy to read coming soon. But it's all building in the stage. They wanted to first figure out the algorithm that they're going to stick with, and on discovery, and making sure that their learning technique on toxic levels was realistic versus just having a toxic score. Because you still have the toxic score off to your right-hand column, which gives us a good signal. Anything that's higher than a 50 is kind of like a threshold that they're looking for. What that means, I have to go back to the actual webinar that we did to get Ivan's pure comment on it. But his team has been really doing fantastic on the tool, and I can't wait to see what it does in the next few months. But that export tool is coming, just letting you know. Arthur,
yeah, I've also gave my feedback also to him, because I've chat with him on an email back and forth about this tool, and I also asked for this, and he told me, I didn't know you guys did the same, but he told me, hey, there are other guys like you who asked for the same feature. Why is it so important? And I told him, if you want to take these links to disavow them, you can't, because you can't export them. You just have to take them manually and then do some more work to get them in a
the cool
readable
part,
form.
He also looks, and they all, yeah, exactly. And he's a listener too. So what he does is he basically looks at what we just did, and even like spreadsheets that I would actually export from SEMrush and how I would mark it up, in different color variations for me and my team. He would actually start to look at that, and so I think getting and gathering information from other marketers is going to be key to what do we want to see out of it, and that's also going to be helping not only the small, mid-sized companies, but people like others that we deal with, large quantity links, and so very excited about where it's going. Most of those penalties are from people that were in the past, marketing companies in the past. We don't necessarily see it. Link penalties happening, or at least I haven't, with newer companies, unless they just haven't paid attention to the news these days.
Yeah, indeed. Jim, you have any other subject?
No, I that's why I let this conversation go on, because I know that when I click this button, it'll be thank you for watching time.
Okay, we didn't want to put monopole on this subject, so we wondered if you have anything else.
Yeah, it turned into an SEMrush cake.
Well, I'm glad that it did, because it's a good story to tell, and I'm very grateful for the sponsorship of SEMrush of Dumb SEO Questions. It's an acknowledgement of the work that we do here. Yeah, I'm very happy to speak well of them. All right. Any other comments before we click the button? No other items of general business?
So
right,
far we debated all.
Okay. All right. It is. Thank you for watching time, and those of you still watching us, we do appreciate it. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again, but for tonight, it's good night.